In the heart of Hollywood, where luxury cars and million-dollar mansions define success, one man's quiet compassion reminded the world what true greatness looks like. When Keanu Reeves, known for his humility and generosity, noticed something unusual about his assistant's routine, he decided to dig deeper. What he discovered left him heartbroken. His trusted assistant, who had always shown up with a smile, was secretly sleeping in her car. While many would have turned a blind eye, Keanu's response was anything but ordinary. What followed not only changed her life forever, but sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. This is the untold story of how a silent act of kindness became a headline in Hollywood. Chapter 1. The Tireless Assistant. Samantha Clark wasn't born into wealth or fame, but she carried herself with a grace and determination that made people believe she belonged in Hollywood. Originally from a small town in Oregon, Samantha had always dreamed of working in the film industry, not as an actress or director, but as the backbone behind the scenes, the one who ensured things ran smoothly, quietly supporting the stars everyone else idolized. After years of internships, side jobs, and countless rejections, she finally landed a coveted position as a personal assistant to one of the most respected actors in the world, Keanu Reeves. To her colleagues, Samantha was efficient, organized, and endlessly reliable. She managed complex schedules, coordinated international travel, handled confidential matters, and always made sure Keanu had what he needed before he even asked. She was rarely seen without a notepad in hand or her phone glued to her ear, juggling a dozen responsibilities at once. What few realized, however, was that Samantha's unshakable focus and tireless energy weren't just signs of professionalism, they were survival mechanisms. Behind the polished exterior and calm voice was someone grappling with a hidden crisis. The rising cost of living in Los Angeles, combined with student loans and unexpected family responsibilities back home, had drained her savings to nothing. When her apartment lease ended and she couldn't afford the new rent, she made a decision she never thought she'd have to make. She started living in her car. Each day, Samantha would wake up before sunrise in a quiet parking lot, using gym restrooms to get ready. She kept her clothes in vacuum-sealed bags, ate simple meals from convenience stores, and made sure no one ever suspected anything was wrong. She didn't want pity. She didn't want to risk her job. And above all, she didn't want Keanu, someone she deeply respected, to see her as anything less than capable. Despite her personal hardships, Samantha never let it affect her work. She remained punctual, kind, and professional. Her phone was always on, even in the middle of the night, and she never complained. Not once. Her dedication was so unwavering that some colleagues even joked that she had superhuman energy. Little did they know that energy came from a desperate need to keep going, to not let the cracks show, and to protect the one good thing she had left, her job. Samantha believed that if she just kept pushing through, something would eventually change. She clung to hope and discipline like a lifeline. In a world where assistants were often overlooked or replaced, she poured her heart into every task, determined to prove she was indispensable. What she didn't know was that someone had been watching. Someone who noticed more than she realized, and who was about to change everything in a way she never expected. Chapter 2. A Star Who Pays Attention. Keanu Reeves is widely known for his humility, thoughtfulness, and unusually grounded nature for a Hollywood A-lister. While most celebrities are surrounded by assistants they barely acknowledge, Keanu made it a point to treat every member of his team with respect and appreciation. He wasn't someone who barked orders or expected blind obedience. Instead, he believed in collaboration, mutual trust, and paying attention to the people who made his life and career function behind the scenes. Over time, Keanu began to notice subtle changes in Samantha. At first, it was the exhaustion in her eyes during early morning call times, or the way she seemed unusually quiet during car rides. Though she never missed a beat professionally, there was something about her presence that shifted slightly. Her usual cheerful demeanor became more reserved. Her responses were still polite and efficient, but less animated. Most people wouldn't have picked up on it, especially in an industry where burnout and fatigue are common. But Keanu wasn't like most people. He began noticing patterns. Samantha always declined catered meals or restaurant invites, saying she'd already eaten. She never talked about her living situation or her commute, which was strange for someone who used to casually mention her apartment or weekend errands. There was also the matter of her wardrobe, once diverse and expressive, now reduced to a small rotation of outfits that looked practical but repetitive. While none of this seemed alarming on its own, Keanu's instincts told him something was off. He paid closer attention. She arrived too early, often before anyone else. She stayed later than necessary, sometimes claiming she had things to finish up, even when everything had been wrapped. One day, Keanu noticed her parked car in the far end of the studio lot, seemingly untouched all day. A week later, it was in the same place again, in a position where it wouldn't draw attention, but just visible enough if you knew what to look for. Keanu wasn't one to pry, but he valued honesty and care. Instead of confronting her directly, he began speaking to a few trusted crew members to quietly understand what was happening. No one knew much. Samantha was professional to the core. She didn't socialize much outside of work, and she never asked for favors. But the small red flags, her physical tiredness, the changes in routine, the overly modest lifestyle despite a demanding job, kept adding up in his mind. Most stars might have brushed off these signs as part of the job, but Keanu couldn't ignore them. He had been through enough personal hardship to recognize quiet suffering when he saw it. While Samantha worked tirelessly to make his life easier, he started quietly working on understanding hers. What he was about to uncover would move him deeply and set the stage for a decision that would leave Hollywood speechless. Chapter 3. A Heartbreaking Discovery. What began as a quiet suspicion soon led Keanu Reeves to a truth that deeply unsettled him. Through discreet observation and subtle inquiries, the puzzle began to piece itself together. The signs weren't loud, but they were there. The exhaustion masked behind a determined smile, the consistent presence of Samantha's car in secluded corners of the lot, and the absence of any reference to home life. While others might have dismissed it, Keanu knew better. He had seen enough of life's hardships to recognize when someone was silently struggling. Eventually, the confirmation came. One late evening, while most of the crew had cleared out, Keanu happened to pass by a backlot where Samantha's car was parked. What he saw was quiet, unassuming, and profoundly telling. Blankets neatly folded in the back seat, a small toiletry bag in the front, a half-empty bottle of water in the cup holder. It was no longer a theory. Samantha wasn't commuting from a distant neighborhood. She was living in that car. The realization hit him hard. This wasn't just any assistant. This was someone who had shown unwavering dedication, who had never once let her personal struggles interfere with her responsibilities. Someone who had made sure every detail of his life was handled with care, while her own life was unraveling in silence. The fact that she had kept this hidden, without asking for help or even showing signs of complaint, made it all the more heartbreaking. In a city like Los Angeles, where image is everything and where even the most basic living arrangements can be financially crushing, Samantha had been doing everything she could to survive without showing weakness. For Keanu, it wasn't just about the discomfort of her situation. It was about the dignity with which she carried herself through it. She had made the difficult choice to endure homelessness quietly, rather than risk losing the job she valued so deeply. The deeper tragedy was how easy it would have been for anyone to overlook her situation. Assistants in Hollywood are often expected to sacrifice their personal lives for the sake of their jobs. Long hours, erratic schedules, and emotional exhaustion are seen as part of the package. Samantha had played that role perfectly. This discovery marked a turning point. What he had uncovered wasn't just about housing insecurity, it was about how easily people in power can miss the silent struggles of those who serve them, not out of cruelty, but out of distraction. Keanu knew he couldn't allow this situation to continue. Samantha had given her all, and now it was time someone stood up for her with the same quiet strength she had shown every day. He began to plan his next steps carefully, not for show, not for praise, but to restore the dignity that had been quietly slipping through the cracks. Chapter 4. Keanu's Unexpected Reaction. Keanu Reeves has never been one to act impulsively, especially when it comes to matters that involve someone else's dignity. After confirming the truth about Samantha's living situation, he didn't react with public sympathy or dramatic gestures. He knew that confronting her directly might embarrass her or make her feel exposed. She had worked too hard to keep her struggle hidden, and he respected that choice. Instead of offering charity, he chose to respond with careful thought, quiet strategy, and deep respect. His first step was to create distance between his support and any sense of obligation. He didn't want Samantha to feel like she owed him anything or that her job was now tied to gratitude. To do this, he began working behind the scenes. He contacted his business manager to explore ways of providing meaningful assistance without putting her in an uncomfortable position. At the same time, he reached out to a trusted friend in real estate to quietly look for housing opportunities that were both comfortable and discreetly available. Keanu also considered the long-term impact. He didn't want to offer a temporary fix that would only delay the problem. He wanted to help her regain stability in a way that would empower her rather than make her feel dependent. This meant arranging for more than just a place to stay. It meant ensuring she had the tools, resources, and emotional space to rebuild on her own terms. His goal wasn't to save her. It was to quietly give her the foundation she had been denied for too long. He also began to subtly shift some of the work structure around her. He reduced unnecessary overtime, encouraged remote coordination when possible, and made sure she had more time for herself, without ever making it obvious that it was being done for her benefit. Every move he made was intentional and discreet, designed to protect her privacy while offering genuine relief. Most importantly, Keanu approached the situation with humility. He never allowed his position or wealth to overshadow the humanity of the moment. He knew that what Samantha needed wasn't a handout or a spotlight. It was understanding, discretion, and a genuine gesture of care. In an industry obsessed with status and appearance, he chose to lead with empathy and quiet strength. His response became a reflection of who he truly is, a man who believes in actions over words and compassion over spectacle. Samantha's hardship didn't become a project or a PR opportunity. It became a private mission to restore her sense of security and remind her that her worth extended far beyond the work she delivered. What Keanu did next would not only change her life, but also serve as a rare example of humanity in a world that often forgets the people working behind the curtain. Chapter 5. A Life-Changing Gift. When Keanu Reeves finally took action to help Samantha, it wasn't with grand speeches or flashy headlines. It was with quiet precision, thoughtful planning, and a deep understanding of what she truly needed. His assistance went far beyond writing a check. He saw her not just as an employee in need, but as a capable, intelligent woman who had simply fallen into hard times and needed the right kind of support to rise again, with dignity, privacy, and control over her own life. The first part of his gift was a fully paid, fully furnished apartment in a safe and peaceful part of Los Angeles. It wasn't extravagant or flashy. Instead, it was a warm, functional space with everything she needed to feel secure and grounded again. A real bed, a clean kitchen, and a door she could lock behind her. Keanu worked with his team to ensure the lease was handled confidentially, and Samantha's name was placed on the documents. It was her place, her responsibility, and most importantly, her fresh start. But Keanu didn't stop at just solving the housing issue. He understood that true change came from stability, not just survival. He arranged for her to take a short sabbatical with full pay, not framed as charity, but as a well-earned break after months of tireless work. It gave her space to breathe, to reset, and to care for herself in ways she hadn't been able to for far too long. For the first time in months, she had time to think about more than just getting through the day. In addition, Keanu made a discreet but impactful investment in her future. He quietly arranged for her to connect with a professional development coach and offered to fund any courses or certifications she might want to pursue, not to pressure her into a new path, but to give her the option. Samantha had dreams beyond assistant work, and he wanted her to have the resources to chase them if and when she was ready. What made this gift life-changing wasn't just its material value, but the way it was offered. There was no pity, no guilt, and no attention drawn to his role in it. Everything was handled with respect, allowing Samantha to feel empowered rather than indebted. It was the kind of help that restored not just comfort, but confidence. The quiet message that she mattered, not for what she did, but for who she was. Keanu's gift wasn't about rescuing someone. It was about recognizing someone's humanity and giving them the space to reclaim their strength. In a world where so many people suffer in silence, what he gave Samantha was more than a home or a paycheck. It was a chance to rebuild her life on her own terms. That, more than anything, is what made his gesture unforgettable. Chapter 6. Hollywood Reacts. News in Hollywood travels fast, especially when it involves someone as admired and enigmatic as Keanu Reeves. For months, no one outside of Keanu's close circle knew about what he had done for Samantha. He had never mentioned it in interviews, never posted about it online, and never allowed his team to leak it for publicity. But acts of genuine kindness have a way of surfacing, not because someone broadcasts them, but because they leave a trail of gratitude that others eventually notice. When the story of Keanu helping his assistant broke through quiet whispers in the industry, the initial response was disbelief, not because it seemed out of character, but because it was so rare. In a place where extravagant gestures are often performative and where loyalty is easily replaced by contracts, the sincerity behind Keanu's actions felt almost unreal. Yet those who had worked with him before weren't surprised. They had long known him as someone who valued people over appearances. Social media lit up with admiration. Hashtags praising Keanu trended for days, with fans sharing other stories of his past kindness. Giving up his seat on subways, sharing meals with crew members, and funding cancer research without attaching his name to it. The story about Samantha became a new symbol of his authenticity, a reminder that decency still existed in the entertainment world, even at the highest levels. Other celebrities began to speak out, not just in praise of Keanu, but in reflection. Some admitted that the story made them think about how they treated their own teams. Industry insiders, assistants, and crew members across various productions began sharing their experiences, both good and bad, creating a larger conversation about respect, fair treatment, and the often invisible people who make the industry function. Journalists highlighted the difference between performative kindness and quiet generosity. Keanu's decision to help Samantha without using it for press became a powerful counterpoint to the culture of self-promotion. It wasn't just the act itself that resonated. It was the way he had handled it, with discretion, integrity, and no expectation of praise. For Samantha, the response was overwhelming but humbling. Though she never sought attention, many were inspired by her resilience, professionalism, and courage. She became a quiet hero in her own right. a symbol of strength, grace, and the hidden struggles so many endure silently in pursuit of their dreams. Keanu's actions sparked more than headlines. They sparked introspection. Studios began reevaluating how they supported staff behind the scenes. Several high-profile figures pledged to establish support systems for assistants and junior employees, citing the story as a wake-up call. In the end, Hollywood didn't just react with admiration. It began to shift, even slightly, toward empathy. All because one man chose to pay attention, act with kindness, and lead without the need for applause. Keanu Reeves didn't just change one life, he reminded an entire industry what true character looks like. Subscribe this channel for more inspirational videos. Thanks for watching.